Hello and welcome to AITPM News. And in this edition we have stories including transport corridors, why not consider all the options, a bus by any other name, bus stop design, utility and or art, and will clothing dictate transit patronage? Fairfax Media has just reported that the New South Wales State Government has said that planning for a transport corridor in Sydney's southern suburbs must not consider public transport. This ties in with a story we did last week about the corridor inquiries in Sydney in the early 80s. A number of people have sent in comments that raise concerns about the whole approach, not just a passion for a specific mode of transport. One well-respected transport planner and manager who was involved in the inquiries said, "What a mess, a fiasco of political interference." A major problem, he felt, was that the then government wrote the terms of reference, which specifically excluded looking at all the options. The inquiries did challenge authorities on their assumptions and evaluation techniques, which is accepted as a valuable exercise. But one of our colleagues said, "The inquiry stopped an outdated highway plan from being built, but stopped it so dead that good road planning was delayed too long." The political climate at the time was riding on an anti-freeway sentiment, but such an approach is over-restrictive if it squashes conversation on the needs of a city and the role that other modes of transport can reasonably fulfil. In a paper at the 1984 ARRB conference, which for completeness I note that I wrote, titled Sydney's Corridor Inquiries, Clarifying or Clouding the Issues, it was concluded that the issues raised and the value to the planning process of the inquiries had a limited impact because of oversimplification of the transport tasks and the unusual perceptions which led to predominantly no-build recommendations. Last week we ran a story on the guided electric vehicle scheme proposed for Parramatta Road in Sydney. It was also being called the Trackless tram. This prompted a wave of sometimes passionate response from transport professionals about whether you can call this service a tram or is it just a bus. Given that the system has multi-carriage devices, suggests that just a bus is a misleading expression. But there are undoubtedly some feelings that if it's not on rails, it will never work. Part of our discussion with Ken Welsh covered this issue. People often love fixed rail because it shows permanency, but you don't really need rail tracks to do that. You can do that with stations and signposting and markings on the road. For heaven's sake, you could paint tracks on the road if you wanted to.
Absolutely. I think the big thing that gives the sense of permanency, which is a sense of commitment for the public, is getting platforms in. So having the centre running with physical platforms is as good as having tracks down.
What are the elements of good bus stop design? In Canberra, they have implemented a program to save and restore old bus shelters as part of a heritage initiative. By providing $100,000, the Northern Territory government is getting local Darwin artists to work with at-risk youth and people with disability to paint vivid murals on bus stops that aims to deter vandalism. But the function of bus stops is also being challenged. In Singapore, an architectural firm and the government have collaborated to create bus stops with books, a rooftop garden, artwork by a local illustrator, and a swing. Users can download e-books from the National Library, charge their phones, and find information on arrival times and journey planning. Screens also broadcast information on weather, news, and local events. In the Netherlands and other places, they have experimented with pictures of grocery items that you can click on to purchase, and then they will be delivered to your home by courier. By providing more function to bus stops, they become a more significant part of the community. Similarly, what used to be just the service station is now a multifunctional destination that transport planners should have an input to their future evolution. An interesting paper titled "Transfer Penalties Vary with the Weather" quantifies an important point. The paper is by Professor Graham Curry, Chair of Public Transport Engineering at Monash University. It concludes, amongst other things, that transfer penalties, the discomfort factor from having to change from one transport service to another, depends on the weather and how dark it is. People will be less hassled by a transfer if it helps them avoid the rain or walking in the dark. This is another example of the personal decisions we make when choosing our mode and path of travel. Our modelling and other considerations need to ensure we take into account a wide range of factors, not just assuming that consumers are automatons who always take the same travel options based on time and distance. Perhaps clothing design may help. A new project from MIT Media Lab's Tangible Media Group called Biologic is exploring things such as bacterium-based material that reacts to humidity and ventilates more if you are sweating. This could be great for encouraged cycling or a healthy walk. I'd like to have business clothing that is easy to wear and does not get wet in the rain, so I can walk to the bus stop in all weathers. I'd also like shoes that I can jump in puddles without getting my socks wet, but that's just me.